Hey everyone, this is Hansen. Welcome to Shifting Lanes. I got a chance to visit Donkervoort in the Netherlands, and Dennis Donkervoort, the son of Joop Donkervoort, the founder, has kindly given me a very exclusive tour of the facility and shown me how they build their ultra lightweight and ultra fast supercars. Make sure you stick around till the end so you can see and hear the history behind the cars that made the Donkervoort company. Cars like their very first original car, their 10th anniversary version, the D10, their first project with Audi, the D8 GT race car that won the 24 Hours of Dubai in the GT4 class, the D8 GTO, and the D8 GTO RS. As always, if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Here we are in the Donkervoort factory.
Yeah, so this is the factory. So what this department over here is our maintenance department, which is quite special because not many manufacturers are also offering maintenance in factory. Mm-hmm. We do it for two reasons, because we want to have the direct contact with the customer. And we want to have the direct contact with the product. When we discover something today in the maintenance department which can be improved, we can put it in production, improve it next day. No car is the same. It's not only because we customize, but also because we improve all the day. So this is our assembly line. So the very last step in production, so we come to this later on. So this is the department where we always say every Donkervoort is born. It's still a tubular steel chassis. It has been changed in the meantime because every tube is supplied by our partner, which is doing the laser cutting process. So, for example, this is all laser cutting. So the tube has been developed in the computer. Our supplier is printing it out. Every tube has a number, like here, and then every rig has his number as well. And it's basically the work of the welder to put the right tube into the right rig. And then we have a variety of rigs, and then we have one rig, which is the yellow one over here, where all parts come together. A few interesting things to tell about the chassis. The first thing is we still use tubular steel chassis for a reason. We believe that the combination of steel and carbon fiber is the ultimate combination, because when you look to the ultimate characteristics of the material, you see that steel is very strong in compression forces, whereas carbon fiber is very weak in compression forces.
Yes.
Where carbon fiber is very strong in towing.
Tensile.
Exactly. And a metal is very, very weak actually with tension. So we believe in the combination. Second of all, what is interesting about this chassis is that because we use so many triangle structures in the design of the chassis, we don't need to use tubes that are almost solid. We can use a very thin,
thin-walled sections.
Exactly.
Okay.
So basically, when the chassis has been finished, it has a weight of 54 kilogram.
Wow.
So you and me are lifting it up.
We could lift it together.
Exactly.
Like it's nothing.
And then to give you some extra numbers, the torsional stiffness of the chassis, just the tubular steel chassis, is 20,000 Newton meters per degree. A normal, let's say a Volkswagen Golf, has a 5,000 Newton meter torsional stiffness per degree. So it's 4 times
as stiff.
Just the tubular steel chassis without the gluing of the carbon fiber. So it's very strong, very stiff, which you like when you like sports car, because you want to, regulate the road handling with your shock absorbers and with your aerodynamics, and don't want to think about how weak, how torsional stiff or not stiff is our chassis. And also the design related to crashing. The design is that the steel part is absorbing the forces until the gluing part. So actually this, starting from this point on to the rear direction, is all very strong with the gluing part, and then the part over here is, you know, absorbing the forces during a crash.
So the carbon fiber and the foam starts from here to this point, all the way to the back.
Yeah. So we are following the European small series homologation. So we also need to do crash tests, etc. So we talked about, you know, thin wall thickness. We talked about that it's very stiff. We didn't talk about the welding procedure. We are welding with copper.
Oh.
Which is also quite special because it's very difficult. I don't know if you have tried it already.
No.
But I did, and it's very difficult. And we do it for a reason, because first of all, the melting point of copper is lower than steel. So we are not ruining the structure of the tubular steel tube. And the second reason is that when you, in case of an accident, for example, you damage the chassis, for example this tube has been bended, you put heat into the welding and you take the broken tube out, so you don't need to cut or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's easier to repair.
Overall, still a very stiff structure, but in terms of repairability, it's a lot easier.
Repairability and liability, because we don't break the structure of the tube. So, you know, in a car you have a lot of vibrations, a lot of movement, and you don't want to have a
fracture. Okay.
We start the production of a car when we know what kind of car it will be. So for who will this car be? So is he going to drive on the track? Is he going to drive on the road? Is he doing both? Is he tall or is he short? We can do already many things to customize the car in this department.
So where do you introduce that level of customization at this point?
For example, we are looking here at the chassis, which will be a GTO S model. So I can see it on the suspension part, but I can also see that the chassis don't have an extra roll cage for the track. So we can do a lot of things. Also, like I said, related to the size of the driver, we can already make modifications in this department.
Okay.
Next to besides the chassis, we are also producing our own exhaust systems, roll cages, fuel tanks, suspension parts, intercoolers. So basically we have two guys working here. One is doing all the additional parts like suspension, exhaust, roll cages, etc. And one is doing the chassis. Both can do both work. So back in the days, this department was actually quite big, which was our aluminum department. But due to the fact that we are gaining
carbon fiber,
this is more or less our restoration and repair department. So in case of a damage or in case of a customer that wants to make the car new again, we use this department.
Now, is there any more aluminum in the new cars?
Yeah.
Is it just the hood?
It's just the hood, and it's the exhaust protection cover.
Okay.
And then we have some internal parts, which is still aluminum, but it's not so much anymore. So this is our composites department. We are actually doing some stock work, so it's a little bit of a mess today, but so here we do all the carbon fiber parts production. So basically all development, all production of the rigs and the production of the final products is done in-house. Since last year we have our first patent. And the patent is about using carbon fiber in combination with foam. And it's an expandable foam. And basically this is, in the meantime, our most important department, because this is the reason that our car is performing like it is, because it has such a light weight and is so strong.
And so now the foam is sandwiched between layers of carbon fiber.
This is the door.
Okay.
Of the DA GTO, but also the DA GTO RS. And what you can see is the outer layer is carbon fiber. And then behind the carbon fiber layer we have aramid glass fiber, but then the core is foam inside.
Yes.
Which is making the product very strong, very strong structure, but also still very light. Integrated the production of the hinges into the process. The outer part of the seat, so it's two parts.
Wow. There's no foam in there, is there? It's just pure carbon fiber.
Pure carbon fiber, yeah. It depends on the part where we use the foam, but actually all structural parts, like the side panels, like the doors, like the complete back chassis, is with foam combination.
Okay.
For example, the side panel.
Yes.
So here you can see actually quite good the thickness of the foam. So this is the thickness of the foam.
Okay.
So then the assembly. So like I said, at the moment just GTO RS is in production. So here you can see every face basically. So all the way over there, you still see the tubular steel chassis.
Yes.
In the meantime, it has been powder coated.
Okay.
We don't do that in-house. You can basically choose every color that you want.
Yes.
Most of the time it's black or matte black, something like that. Like I said, 54 kilograms. You know, the work starts over here to fully customize the car.
Okay.
So you can, really choose many things. We always say we don't have an option list which is very long about sound systems, airbags, something like that. We don't have that.
Yes.
But the technique you choose, well, we have many options about that. So what kind of shock absorbers, what kind of differential, what kind of brake system, what kind of gearbox, how many horsepower.
Speaking of sound system, you have the perfect sound system.
Which is the
up here, the 5-cylinder.
Yeah.
So again, this is from Audi.
Yeah.
You mentioned you could have different types of suspension.
Yeah.
Do you mean by how firm it is or how tunable it is?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have actually a big variety in customers. So we have the customer that likes, on a Sunday. Drive to drive in the mountains with the wife next to him, easy on, relaxed, comfortable. And then we have the more extreme customer who is just using the car on the track, where every tenth is important to have the best and most fast lap times. And we can customize in either direction actually. So.
In terms of the transmission, what do you offer?
Our standard street car is fitted with a Tremec 5-speed manual. Okay. So out of the USA, which just has a weight of 23 kilos, which is quite light and still very strong. And then for the racing cars or the cars that are just be driving on the track, we have a 6-speed sequential. Where Bosch developed the software, so we can shift up and down without using the clutch, which it's like a
automatic or a dual clutch transmission.
Yeah, a little bit like that, but then hardcore and light. So that are actually the two options. And then we have a variety of differentials, so limited slip differential or just a normal differential.
Okay.
We have the brake system with the 6-piston system all around, or even we have a race ABS, again from Bosch, which is fully adjustable again. So you can, ultimately configure the settings of the ABS as well. And then we have many options concerning the optical appearance of the car, like for example those two. One is quite shiny, quite extreme, The other is a little bit more sophisticated, but very technical, because this is again a fully exposed carbon fiber version, but then without the ink technology. So just clear coat. That's it.
Now these cars are already called for.
Yeah.
They've been bought.
Yeah, the owners of these cars have been waiting, I think, 1.5 years now.
Very patiently.
Basically, so they supposed to be finished more or less the end of this month.
Okay.
A little bit later, maybe October, somewhere like that. And it's part of the fun of our cars, because every customer is receiving more or less a diary of photos of every step in production. So they see how their car is being born, and even in this stage they still can make adjustments in the configuration. So for example, when they don't like the color of the calipers, we can still change it.
And over here on the tray we see the remainder of the parts that's supposed to go on this car.
Yep, you're right.
And again, some of those have the foam within them.
For example, maybe you see the door produced with our X-Core technology. So this is again a foam part, the upper part of the door. So painted on the outside, exposed carbon on the inside.
Lots of carbon fiber trim pieces.
Yeah, very difficult.
Now,
time consuming as well.
Speaking of time, how much time does it take to build a car from the tubular frame all the way till the end?
More or less 600 hours.
600 hours.
Yeah. So that's just the assembling, like you mentioned, and then it's additional to produce the carbon fiber parts, additional to produce the tubular steel chassis, and also it depends, of course, what kind of appearance, what kind of technique we need to use. So for example, a GTO S, which is more or less a street configuration, has a production time of 450 hours. So it saves a lot of time. Okay.
All right. So now we haven't talked about price yet. Now, assuming that you could still buy a Donkervoort D8 GTO RS, how much would it start at?
Yeah, like you said, it's not available anymore for sale, but it starts at 153,000 euros, excluding taxes. And it can go up, of course, with the carbon fiber, exposed carbon fiber edition. The carbon fiber edition is around 190. That's the variety where we play in.
Okay.
002. So the very first beginning. So my father founded the company more or less 40 years ago. So next year, 40 years ago.
Wow.
And he actually started by importing the Lotus 7 from Great Britain to the Netherlands, but then quite quickly discovered that the cars that he was importing were not, road legal for Europe. And then, he came to the point where he needed to make the decision: am I going to change the product that I'm importing, or am I going to do it myself?
What were some of the things that you had to abide by in order to make the cars road legal? What were some of the technical changes?
It was not just one thing, so it were many things. Yeah. So it was, actually too many things, and therefore not really, economic to do the changes. And therefore he said, okay, I'm going to start my own company, my own brand. Not knowing that in the 40 years that we are existing now, we developed ourselves to a supercar instead of a replica Super 7.
Right.
So that is more or less a very quick step to what we do now. We still have the Lotus 7 shape, cigar on wheels.
The cigar on wheels.
We still like less is more, so pure. We don't have that many electronic devices, so we have traction control and we have the possibility for ABS, but it's all fully able to switch it off. So it's very pure. You need to do it by yourself. No power steering, no power braking. 86 horsepower.
86 horsepower.
4-shift manual.
4-shift manual, 4 gears.
More or less 630 kilos.
which 630 kilos
Yeah.
with 86 horsepower
Yeah.
is still impressive.
It was quite quick.
It was very,
Back in the days,
very quick.
It was
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
So this particular car it's a nice story to tell. We found this car, or a customer of us found this car 2 years ago in an old garage. It was in a horrible shape, horrible condition. Different parts were not original anymore. It was not the original color anymore, and within 1.5 years we fully renovated the car back to its original shape. And has a value now estimated on 150,000 euros.
Wow.
Which is quite impressive, because back in the days the price was 20,000 guilders, which is 10,000 euros at the moment.
So this is 002.
002. We don't
Beautiful.
know where 001 is.
Yeah.
So when you find it, call me. The S7, like downstairs, was more or less a replica. And then this is the S8A, which was actually the very first own development.
So this is after learning about all the different regulations in order to make the car Dutch worthy, I suppose.
European
worthy.
And then not only concerning regulations, but also my father was he had his own opinion, and he made technical improvements, and it was so-called the S8A, which was with a fully independent rear axle, so with a differential, which was back in the days,
Very modern.
Yeah.
Very modern. Yeah.
And therefore, this particular car has been used for a trade fair to introduce the people with the independent rear axle. And
this is steel tubular chassis with aluminum bodywork.
Yeah.
And this uses a Ford engine.
Ford engine, yeah.
Ford engine, and you see the
OHC,
electronic fuel injection.
And then 110 horsepower.
110 horsepower, still hasn't gained much weight from the original concept.
No. So still around 630 kilos.
And the transmission is a 5-speed transmission.
Yeah. For our 10th anniversary, we developed the Donkervoort D10.
The D10.
And this is the D10. And we developed this car back in the days to become one of the fastest cars in acceleration. So he did 0 to 100 in 3.7 seconds, which went into the Guinness Book of Records. So as you can see, there was weight optimization. So we removed the front screen,
the front windscreen,
some aerodynamics, and then it was the first Donkervoort with a turbo. So it's actually basically the same engine as the S8A, but then with turbo. So then the car suddenly had 170 horsepower.
170, from 110 to 170.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then with a weight under 600 kilos, 580, something like that. And this particular car we bought last year, so we are very happy that we have it, because there are only 10 built of this D10. And this is the only one which is fully original, in the original color, shape, parts, etc. From the very first owner we bought it.
This is again aluminum bodywork for everything, right?
Except of
the nose,
front, the wings, but basically the rest of it is aluminum.
Okay.
And the tubular steel chassis.
And was the second seat a requirement that they did not take that away to save more weight?
Well, it needed to be a road legal car.
Road legal car, okay, I understand.
Yeah. Here you look at the very first project we have done with Audi. Since 1996, our partner, related to the engines. The partnership started with Dr. Pespen, and he said, well, we can start a project, but we need to be sure that the Donkervoort with the first Audi engine needs to be quicker than every model in the past. And therefore they chose for a V6 without turbo back in the days. And then they started racing in our own Donkervoort Cup to compare the D20 to the former Donkervoorts, and they discovered that it was not quick enough. So what they did is, well, we did together with Audi, we did a lot of tuning to make it quick enough. Eventually he won races in the Donkervoort Cup, and then we said, okay, let's start the production. Let's make him road legal and start the production. But that was a minor issue because due to the tuning, we were not in the possession anymore to make him road legal because the emissions were too high.
Yes.
So we basically built this factory, developed a full car, those two.
Okay.
And then discovered that it was not able to put in production. So not a success story.
Not a success story.
No. So what we did within a very short time frame, we took the former D8 model, where we had the D8 Cosworth engine in it. We transformed the D8 to a version with the Audi engine, 4-cylinder, 1.8 turbo. And we took that in production here in this facility.
Now, how heavy was the D20?
680 kilos.
Okay.
And then it had 240 horsepower.
Wow.
Without turbo then.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was, the start of the collaboration with Audi. So the start was difficult with the D20, but then with the D8, with the 1.8 turbo engine, we had many successes. For example, in 2004, we drove the Noordslijver record, lap record. We had it 2 times, so 2004, 2005, we took the record with 7 minutes 13.
Wow.
Which was quite quick for back.
It's very impressive, yes.
And then with more or less the same concept, we developed the first Donkervoort with a roof. That's this car. This is the D8 GT. In the car we drove the 24 hours of Dubai in 2010 and 2011. And in 2011 we have won the race. So, still a very emotional car for us.
Yes.
A very long story. It was a very difficult race where we had very much problems in the qualifying. We decided to be very conservative on setup and just started the race at a starting place of 68. And, because the car was first of all reliable, but also had very much advantages because of the lightweight. So our tires were not worn out. We did the whole race on one set of brake pads. The fuel consumption was quite ideal, so we could drive the whole 2 hours with one driver, etc., etc. Resulted in a victory. For us, this is the example of less is more. This car had a weight of 750 kilos because of the regulations, with just 270 horsepower. We did the race with 3 drivers, and like I said, we just drove, and every hour we went down in the standings because we were.
This is proof that less is more because less wear on everything.
Yeah.
24 hours on one set of pads.
Exactly.
Impressive.
Yeah. Compared to our competitors, for example, our neighbors were the factory team of Mercedes with the SLS. They had 120 liters of gasoline. We had only 90 due to the regulations with the 1.8 turbo. But with the 90 liters, we were able to drive 2 hours. And they did 1 hour, 10 minutes with 120 liters. So that was a big advantage. So we did only 13 pit stops during the 24 hours. So then that was the DAGT, and then we started the development of GTO.
Okay.
You mentioned yourself with the 5-cylinder TFSI, 2.5 liters turbo. So GTO stands for GT Open. So
GT
the open version of the GT.
Okay.
But it's a little bit more. It basically meant a complete new development for our company, because we had back in the days the tubular steel chassis with some composite parts, and most of the parts were aluminum. With the GT we already started working with composites more, but with the GTO it meant we needed to change our whole policy in the company. So we have a tubular steel chassis, but then carbon fiber parts glued to it.
Okay.
So for example, the side panels, the back chassis completely, the scuttle, so where the front screen is mounted in, is completely carbon fiber sandwich structure, which is glued to the tubular steel chassis. So we wanted to let the car grow because of the 5-cylinder, also in size, but we didn't want to gain in weight. So that's basically one of the most important reasons that we said we need to look to the developments of carbon fiber. So the car, like it's standing here, has a weight of 695 kilos, so 695 kilos. Horsepower variety of 340, 380, and with the GTO RS, our newest version, 415 horsepower.
Wow.
So
that is the fastest Donkervoort
ever. Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. So 0 to 100, 2.7, 0 to 200, 7.8.
And what is the difference between the engines? It's just performance tuning, or are there various components that?
Many components. So the intake system, like the intercooler, like the exhaust system, of course. Many hardware components as well that has been changed to achieve the horsepower. So this is at the moment the GTO RS, the only model that we produce. So we introduced the GTO RS last year. It has been sold out in the meantime, and we are producing them until mid next year.
How many examples have been built in the prior year of this RS?
We have produced 15 at the moment, and we need to produce 65.
Okay.
So still some work to do.
Some work to do, yeah.
So this is the model that we produce. So that is what I'm going to show you in our production facility. What we do, how we produce this model.
Perfect. So that is it, guys. That was a wonderful factory tour. Again, thank you so much to Donkervoort Automobilen. If you haven't seen any of their cars, you could check out their website, linked down below. My name is Hansen. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Follow us on all of our other social media channels, linked down below. I'll catch you next time.